Tonight you will call upon the angel of money, and tomorrow you will rise to meet the proof of what you have imagined. For too long you have prayed to heaven as if it were somewhere far above you, but I tell you, heaven is within you. If you dare tonight to believe that the angel has already heard your call, then money must answer in the morning. In this message you will learn how to attract money, not by struggle, not by chance, but through the one true law, assumption. You will discover how to speak inwardly and awaken the angel that money truly is. Because money is not something outside of you, it is your imagination made visible. Tonight, I will lead you beyond the struggle of bills and the fear of lack into the quiet confidence that wealth is already yours. And if you dare to apply what you hear, the morning will surprise you. I understand the burden of waiting for money, the fear of not having enough. I know the long nights of asking and the mornings that felt empty. But I tell you this, it was never money that failed you. It was the state you chose to live in. The angel you call upon tonight is no stranger. It is your own imagination clothed as abundance. People will tell you to wait longer, to work harder, to plead, but I tell you, you can prove this law in a single night. And when you do, you will never again fear lack. In this lesson, I will show you exactly how to call the angel of money before you sleep, how to sense its answer, and how to wake up tomorrow knowing that the law has already worked on your behalf. I will reveal why so many prayers seem unanswered, why efforts fail, and how the physical world blinds you from the treasure already within you. You will begin to read Scripture anew as a map to your own hidden riches. Stay with me, for I will unfold before you the unseen pattern, the way to speak within yourself and move heaven itself. By the time we finish, you will know that money obeys imagination, and you will hold the proof in your own hands. You have heard me say, call upon the angel of money tonight and rise to meet its answer tomorrow. But here is what most people completely miss. The angel you call is not some being with wings, not a distant presence outside yourself. The angel is a state of consciousness. When Scripture says that angels are ministering spirits, it is not describing a faraway realm. It is showing you that every state you dare to assume, every attitude you hold toward yourself, is the angel that goes forth to serve in your world. This is why so many prayers seem to go unanswered. A man prays with his lips, but within himself he remains in the state of poverty. He bows his head and asks God to provide, yet in his imagination he still sees unpaid bills, an empty wallet, and the weight of lack pressing on his heart. That inner condition is the true angel he has called, and being faithful servants, the angels return exactly what was assumed. What I'm telling you may sound strange at first, but listen with the inner ear. Every event of your life, every condition you face is nothing more than an angel clothed in flesh, a state of consciousness you once entertained. You cannot see a thing in your outer world unless you first accepted it inwardly. The angel of lack, the angel of debt, the angel of delay, all of these you have once called without realizing it. But now I say to you, turn away from those angels and call a new one, the angel of money. How do you call this angel? Not by shouting into the night, not by long words or desperate cries. You call it by stepping into its state. You dare to feel as though you are already provided for. You walk through the inner rooms of your mind as though the proof is already in your hand. That is the true summoning. Angels respond to assumption, not to pleading. Think about Jacob's ladder. He saw angels moving up and down between heaven and earth. That vision revealed a deep mystery. States of consciousness rise and fall within you. One moment you climb into wealth, another you slip into lack. The angels you see are your own imaginal acts taking flight. When you cling to the vision of abundance, the angel of money rises and must return with its blessing. Let me share something from my own life. There was a time I longed to return to Barbados, but I had no money for the journey. I didn't call on a person for help. I didn't write letters begging for assistance. I simply assumed the feeling of being there. Each night I lay in my bed in New York and felt myself back in my father's home in Barbados. I could smell the island air, walk the familiar streets, and feel the warmth of my family near me. That was the angel I called, and in a way no man could have planned, the passage appeared. A ticket was sent, and the angel answered. So tonight I say to you, money is no harder to summon than that passage to an island. Both are simply states of consciousness. The angel is waiting on your word, but the word is not sound, it is feeling. When you feel yourself already supplied, when you rest confidently in that state, you have called the angel of money, and it must go forth to serve you. Now I ask you, will you keep calling the angel of lack by thinking thoughts of not enough? Or will you tonight call a new angel, the state of wealth already yours? Let me take you deeper. What I am about to share may sound shocking at first, but once it settles into you, you will never again see money the same way. The world has taught you all your life that money is master, that it rules markets, controls choices, and decides who rises and who falls. But I tell you, money is not the master, it is the servant. Scripture tells us the story of the prodigal son, a young man who left his father's house, wasted his wealth, and found himself feeding pigs. That story is not history. It is your inner journey. You are that son. The wealth you wasted was imagination, spent on thoughts of fear, of debt, of not enough. But when the son remembered his father and said, I will arise and go, everything changed. He turned within, and when he did, life itself responded. Money is not the ruler it pretends to be. It has no power of its own. It is an obedient servant to the one who knows himself as divine. When you believe that money rules you, you bow before your own servant and act as if it were king. But when you take your rightful place as the child of the Most High, you discover that money has always waited silently for your command. The tragedy is that most people instruct this servant in ignorance. They call it through fear, so it brings more fear. They call it through doubt, so it delays. They call it through worry, and it brings more to worry about. Yet the law remains perfect. The servant only carries out the master's command. And who is the master? Not the outer person, not the voice of circumstance, but the I am within you. Imagine a great household with many servants. The father is head of the home, and the son, being heir, holds the father's authority. But he forgets who he is. He wanders, begging scraps from the servants, pleading with them for help, while all the while they wait for his word. This is how men treat money, bowing before it as if it held power, forgetting they are the rightful heirs who need only to speak inwardly with authority. When you awaken to your true position, everything shifts. Money, which once seemed to avoid you, begins to come right on time, not because it grew stronger, but because you remembered who you are. Have you not noticed how a person who moves with certainty about money always seems to attract it? They may have no special education, no great connections, yet money comes to them as if drawn by a magnet. Why? Because their inner state makes money their servant. They assume wealth and money obeys. While another, who works endlessly, counting every penny and fearing lack, finds that money keeps slipping away. The more he chases, the more it escapes him. So tonight I say to you, reverse the order. When you call the angel of money, do not call as a beggar hoping for mercy. Call as the heir giving command to the servant. Say within yourself, I am supplied, I am provided for, I am wealthy. Feel it so deeply that your inner world accepts it as fact. When that happens, the servant has no choice but to act, for the law is unchanging. The subconscious mind, the womb of creation, receives only what you impress upon it. And once it is impressed, it must express. It is like a beloved wife who receives the seed of feeling and brings it forth as form. Treat her gently and lovingly, and she produces in abundance. Force her with fear and doubt, and she resists. The same is true of money. You must persuade by feeling, not by fear. Now do you see why Jesus said, "Take no thought for your life, what you shall eat or drink or wear"? He wasn't telling you to neglect life, but to remember that all these things are natural servants of imagination. When you assume the state, when you seek first the kingdom, which is the awareness of being, all these other things, food, clothing, shelter, and yes, money, are added unto you. They cannot help but serve, for they are ministering spirits, flames of energy sent forth to serve those who know they are heirs of divine inheritance. You are that heir, and tonight the angel of money waits for your call. Position, or will you stay among the swine of fear and doubt? Let me take you a little deeper. What I'm about to say might sound surprising at first, but once it settles inside you, you will never again look at money in the same way. The world has taught you all your life that money is the master, that it controls the markets, decides your choices, and determines who rises or who falls. But I tell you, money is not the master, it is the servant. Scripture tells us about the prodigal son, a young man who left his father's home, wasted his wealth, and ended up feeding pigs. That story is not just history, it is a picture of your own inner journey. You are that son who wandered, and the substance you wasted was not silver or gold, but your imagination spent on thoughts of fear, lack, and worry. When the boy remembered his father and said, "I will arise and go," he turned within, and everything changed. That is the mystery. The moment you turn back to your Father, to the awareness of "I am," every servant in the house, including money, rushes to clothe you, feed you, and honor you. Money is not the ruler it pretends to be in the eyes of the world. It has no power of its own. It is an obedient servant to the one who knows who he truly is. When you think money rules over you, you bow before your own servant and treat it as if it were your master. But when you take your rightful place as a child of the Most High, you discover that money has always been waiting for your command, quietly standing by for your inner direction. The sad truth is that most people command this servant in ignorance. They call it through fear, and so it brings them more fear. They call it through doubt, and it returns delay. They call it through worry, and it gives back more reasons to worry. Yet the law never fails. The servant only follows the master's voice. And who is the master? Not the outer man you see in the mirror, not the voice of your circumstances, but the I am within you. Picture a great household filled with many servants. The father is the head of the home, and the son, being heir, holds the same authority as the father. But the son has forgotten this truth. He wanders around begging scraps from the servants, pleading for their help, while the servants wait patiently for his command. This is how people treat money, as if it had authority over them. They bow and scrape before it, forgetting that they are the rightful heirs who need only speak the word in the silence of imagination. When you awaken to your true position, the whole house shifts. Money, which once seemed to avoid you, begins to appear at the right time, not because it suddenly became stronger, but because you finally took your rightful place as master within. Have you not noticed how a man who carries himself with quiet confidence about money always seems to attract it? He might not have more education, more connections, or more opportunities than others, yet money comes to him as if drawn by a magnet. Why? Because his inner state has made money his servant. He assumes wealth, and money hurries to obey. Now look at the man who toils endlessly, counting every coin, living in fear of not enough. The harder he works, the more money slips away. It vanishes through his fingers because he treats the servant like a master, and the servant ends up ruling him. You must reverse this order. Tonight, when you call upon the angel of money, do not call as one who begs for mercy, but as an heir who commands the servant to prepare the feast. Say within yourself, I am supplied, I am provided for, I am wealthy. Feel it so deeply that the servant has no choice but to act. The law is firm. The subconscious, the womb of creation, only receives what you impress upon it. Once impressed, it expresses without fail. It is like a loving wife who receives the seed of feeling and brings it forth into form. Treat her kindly, treat her with love, and she produces abundantly. Command her harshly, and she resists. It is the same with the servant called money. You must persuade through feeling, not through fear. Now you understand why Jesus said, "Take no thought for your life, what you shall eat or drink or wear." He wasn't saying to neglect your needs. He was reminding you that all these things come naturally once you assume the right inner state. Seek first the kingdom, the awareness of being, and all these servants, food, shelter, and money will be added unto you. They cannot help but serve, for they are ministering spirits, flames of fire sent to serve those who are heirs of salvation. You are that heir, and tonight the angel of money stands waiting at your door. Will you rise and go to your Father to claim your position, or will you remain among the swine of fear and doubt? Here's something most people never see, though it is the very reason they remain bound to struggle and endless work. They are trapped in what I call the prison of lack. This prison is not your bank balance, not the pile of bills on your desk, not even the size of your paycheck or the weight of your debts. No, the prison of lack is simply the state of mind a man accepts without realizing it. He wakes up saying, I don't have enough. He moves through his day watching others prosper and says, life isn't fair. It never happens for me. He falls asleep rehearsing his worries and then wonders why his life keeps proving him right. But I tell you, the world is innocent. It's not the outer world that holds you prisoner. It's the inner state you choose to live in. The trap of lack is self-made, and the moment you refuse to live in it, the door opens and you are free. Listen closely now, because this is where many stop hearing. The world believes that lack can be fixed by more effort, by longer hours, more hustling, more saving, more grinding, more chasing. But effort without belief is wasted motion. Labor without the inner sense of wealth is chasing shadows while ignoring the light. Haven't you seen people who work without rest day after day, yet always seem to come up short? They are trapped in the same state of lack. The more they struggle, the stronger the chains become. Lack only creates more lack when it's the state of consciousness you live in. You cannot escape by fighting the bars. You escape by walking out through the open door of imagination. Now, what I'm saying doesn't make light of work. I'm not against action, but there is a great difference between blind action born of fear and inspired action born of inner knowing. Action born from fear will only recreate more fear. But action born from faith, rooted in the awareness that money is your servant, produces results that flow naturally and with ease. The trap of lack whispers, work harder, struggle more, hold tighter. But the voice of truth says, be still and know that I am God. In that stillness, you step into the feeling of abundance. You feel the joy of already having, and from that quiet certainty, everything you do outwardly succeeds. Let me paint a picture for your mind. Imagine a man standing before two fields. One is barren, dry, full of weeds. Yet he spends all his time watering and plowing it, sowing seeds of fear and doubt. The other field beside it is rich, fertile, ready to produce an endless harvest. But because he is so focused on the empty field, he never turns to the one that's ready to bloom. That's the trap of lack, working endlessly in the field of doubt, while the field of imagination stands waiting. The moment he turns to the fertile ground and dares to plant the seed of belief, everything changes. The harvest comes swiftly, naturally, inevitably. For imagination is always ready to bring forth fruit. The trap feels strong only because people believe more in facts than in truth. They look at what they see and say, this is real. They count their coins and say, this proves my poverty. But what they see is only the shadow of what they believe. The senses reflect your assumptions. They are echoes, not sources. And shadows have no power to hold you unless you worship them. Truth is within, and as within, so without. The old wisdom says, deny the shadow and claim the truth. And once you do, the shadow must change to match it. The trap of lack is nothing but worshiping shadows. The way out is simple. Close your eyes to the outer world. Turn your vision inward, and there, assume that you already have all that you desire. Call the angel of money by feeling the joy of being already provided for. The outer world will answer that call. So tonight, as you rest, do not count your debts, do not relive your fears, do not pity yourself as if life has forgotten you. That is the old trap. It only repeats the same story. Instead, whisper quietly within, I am wealthy, I am supplied, I am free. Feel it until it becomes more real than the pillow beneath your head. See yourself tomorrow walking through your day, not as someone struggling, but as someone whose pockets are full, whose heart is peaceful, whose life overflows with good things. That assumption, the quiet, steady knowing that you already have, is the key that unlocks every prison door. You are not waiting for money to appear. Money has been waiting for you all along, waiting for you to rise. Remember who you are, and take your place as master within. Have it. And when you finally do, you will realize that the trap was never real. It was only a state of your own mind, and once you let go of it, it disappears like mist before the morning sun. Now that you understand that the angel of money is not some distant being, but a state of consciousness, that money itself is not your master but your helper, and that the only prison you have ever known is the belief in lack inside your imagination, I must show you the doorway through, which angels are called and servants are commanded. That doorway is the state close to sleep. You may have heard me talk about this many times before, for I have repeated it again and again. The most fertile ground to plant the seed of your assumption is that quiet borderland between being awake and falling asleep. It is there when the body rests, but the mind still lingers between waking and sleeping, that you can impress upon your subconscious the feeling of your desire already fulfilled. And if you dare to plant that seed there, it will grow with a certainty greater than anything your senses now show you. Think of it this way: the conscious mind, when fully awake, is like a guard standing at a gate. All day it questions, it doubts, it reasons, it compares. It says, this cannot happen. That is too good to be true. Look at the facts. Here is the evidence. And as long as that guard is awake and alert, many of the seeds you try to plant are thrown out, scattered on the wayside. But as you begin to drift toward sleep, the guard becomes drowsy. His eyes close, his grip weakens, and the gate slowly opens. It is in that sacred moment that you can move past the guard and speak directly to the subconscious, which is the womb of creation. Once the subconscious receives a feeling, it does not argue, it does not question, it does not reason. It accepts it as truth, conceives it, and brings it forth into form. That is why I tell you, call the angel of money at night, for it is in the quiet of the night as you cross into sleep that your word takes root deeply. I remember many nights in my own life when I did this very thing deliberately. When I longed to return to Barbados but had no money for the trip, I would lie on my bed in New York, close my eyes, quiet my body, and gently convince myself that I was no longer in America but back in my father's house. I would feel the warmth and humidity of the Caribbean air. I would smell the salt of the sea. I would walk again through the streets I had known as a boy. I did not just think about Barbados. I thought from Barbados. That is the great secret. To think of what you want is to admit you don't yet have it, but to think from it is to already be there. It means to live in the reality of it until it feels completely natural. And so I did this night after night until one day a letter arrived, and in it was a ticket. Soon after I was on my way. That was not luck or coincidence. That was law in motion. The seed I had planted in the state close to sleep had grown and produced fruit. So how do you enter this state? Do not try hard, do not strain, do not make it a struggle. Simply lie down in a position that feels easy and comfortable. Some people prefer lying on their backs, others on their sides. Choose whatever helps you relax completely. Close your eyes and breathe softly until your body feels heavy as though sinking into the bed. Do not fall completely asleep, but remain in that sweet middle ground where your body is relaxed and your mind is still gently awake. In that space, imagine a scene that would be true if your desire had already come to pass. If you want money, imagine yourself holding it. Or, even better, imagine the relief of having your bills paid, the joy of being free, the laughter that comes with abundance. Keep the scene short, simple, and clear. Repeat it softly, not with effort, but with peace, until it starts to feel real. Then drift into sleep with that feeling alive in you. That is how you call the angel of money. Do not say, I tried this before, but nothing happened. For I tell you truly, nothing can fail once it is impressed upon the subconscious. If you saw no results, it was not the law that failed you. It was that you did not truly feel the wish fulfilled. Maybe you forced an image, but never surrendered to its truth. Maybe you fell asleep still worrying, still doubting, still imagining lack. The subconscious accepts only what you feel, not what you pretend to feel. So tonight, when you lie down, do not worry about how it will come, or when, or through whom. That is not your part. Your part is simply to assume the state. The angel of money, which is your wealth consciousness, will do the rest, moving quietly through the unseen corridors of life to bring you what you have already accepted as yours. I want you to test this, not later, but tonight. Before you fall asleep, choose one simple imaginal act that would be true if your desire were already real. It might be a handshake of congratulations, a joyful look on someone's face, or a voice saying, "Well done, you are free." Repeat it gently until it feels natural. Then fall asleep in that feeling. And when you wake in the morning, do not say, "I hope this works." Instead say, "It is done." Walk through your day as though the seed has already been planted, because it has. And just as surely as any seed planted in good soil, the harvest will come in due season. Now we move even deeper. For though the doorway has been shown to you, to walk through it, you must learn the language the subconscious understands. That language is not words, it is feeling. The angel of money does not respond to the chatter of your lips, nor to the anxious thoughts that run through your mind. It responds only to the vibration of feeling impressed upon it. This is why I repeat to you again and again, feeling is the secret. You may say affirmations 1,000 times. You may pray and plead until your voice is tired. But if you do not feel the reality of what you are saying, it will not take root. Yet if in one single moment you can truly touch the feeling of already having what you want, that one moment is enough to set in motion the whole power of creation. So what does it mean to feel money in your hand? It does not mean to imagine a pile of bills floating in front of you as if you were watching a movie. It means to step into the scene and let your body feel the truth of it. Close your eyes and see yourself in the act. Feel the texture of the notes in your fingers. Hear the slight crackle as you fold them. Smell the faint scent of paper and ink. Feel the cool weight of coins resting in your palm. Let the warmth of relief and gratitude rise through your chest. It is not the picture that matters most, but the vividness of the feeling. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between what is imagined and what is physically experienced. To it, both are real. And once it accepts the inner experience as fact, it must bring about the outer result in your world. Think about how often you already do this, but in the wrong way. When you worry about debt, do you not feel the tightness in your stomach? Do you not sense the anxiety in your chest, the tension in your breath, the picture of bills piling up in your mind? That too is feeling, but it is the wrong angel you are calling. And because you feel it so strongly, the subconscious says, "So be it," and gives you more of the same. If you can feel fear and worry so deeply, can you not also feel joy and plenty with the same strength? If you can imagine poverty until your body reacts with tension, can you not imagine wealth until your body relaxes with joy? This is the great reversal. What you have been doing unconsciously in the wrong direction, you must now do consciously in the right one. I remember a woman who once came to me weighed down by debt. She said, "Neville, I have spoken affirmations, written them again and again, prayed many times, but nothing changes." I asked her, when you pray, what do you actually feel? She confessed that underneath her words, she still felt fear that the bills would remain, that she was only pretending. So I told her, "Tonight, do not speak any words. Just imagine the debt gone. Picture yourself holding the letter in your hand. Open it and feel the joy of reading the words paid in full." She followed my advice, and within weeks everything shifted. The very person who had once pressed her for payment sent her a notice saying the debt was cleared. What changed first was not the world around her, but her inner feeling. Once she felt free, the outer world had to match that freedom. And I ask you, can you not do the same? Tonight, can you not lie in your bed, close your eyes, and feel money in your hand? Do not say, "I hope." Do not say, "One day." Feel it now. Hear your own laughter as you count it. Sense the lightness in your shoulders as the burden lifts. Imagine the joy on a loved one's face when you hand them a gift bought with that money. Bring all your senses into it until it feels completely real, so real that you forget it is imagination. That is the true secret of calling the angel of money. It is not about begging. It is not about waiting. It is not even about hoping. It is about feeling as though the answer has already arrived, living in that joy until the subconscious accepts it as truth, and then resting in that certainty. So tonight, when you call, do not waste time with endless words. Instead, ask yourself simply, how would it feel if it were true? And then answer by feeling that very emotion. That feeling is the angel itself, clothed and sent out into the world. And once it is sent, it will not return empty. It will accomplish exactly what it was sent to do. Now that you have learned how to enter the silence and to feel the reality of money in your hand, let me guide you into an even deeper mystery, one that has been feared, doubted, and misunderstood for ages, the mystery of the spoken word. Of I am. When Moses stood before the burning bush and asked, "What shall I say is your name?" the answer came, "I am that I am." This was not a puzzle, not a trick, not a play on words. It was the revelation of an eternal truth, that whatever you declare yourself to be, that is what you become. The world must take shape according to your declaration. So if you say within yourself, I am poor, I am struggling, I am always behind, then that is the name you are calling upon, and every force of life must bow to that name and serve it. But if tonight you dare to declare, I am provided for, I am wealthy, I am free, then even the angel of money, which is simply the state of wealth, must obey your words and bring that condition into your experience. You might think it strange that such simple words could hold such great power, but think about how you already use them every day. When a person says, I am tired, doesn't the body immediately feel heavier? When someone says, I am afraid, doesn't the heart begin to race and the breath become short? Even without knowing the law, you are already using the name every time you speak about yourself, and both the body and the world respond. So what would happen if you began to speak differently? What if instead of saying, I am always broke, you began to say, I am rich in every way? What if instead of thinking, I am unlucky with money, you affirmed, I am the one that money looks for? Would not your life begin to feel different in tone and energy? The secret is not found in shouting or forcing, but in gentle, steady declaration, repeated until the words no longer sound like mere words, but like truth. I remember a man who once told me, Neville, I cannot lie to myself. When I say I am wealthy and I see no wealth, I feel like I am pretending. I said to him, my friend, do you not see that you already deceive yourself when you say, I am poor, for your true being is not poverty. Your true being is simply I am. Whatever you dress that I am with, wealth, peace, supply, that is what it becomes. At first he repeated the words without feeling, as if he were only speaking them out of duty. But in time the words began to grow roots in him. One night, as he drifted to sleep, he felt deep peace, as if he already had everything he needed. Not long after, opportunities opened, and money began to flow to him in unexpected ways. The name he had spoken within himself had been heard, and the angel of money answered him. So I say to you, do not be afraid to use the name. Do not make it small through careless words. Every time you say, I am, you are planting a seed. What kind of seed will you plant tonight? Will you keep watering weeds by saying, I am behind, I am lacking, I am not enough? Or will you plant seeds of abundance by saying, I am prosperous, I am free, I am overflowing? The words you say inside yourself, even if you never speak them out loud, are creative powers shaping your world. Do not think you must speak for hours. A short and sincere phrase felt deeply is more powerful than long speeches without conviction. Say quietly, I am wealthy now, I am free, I am blessed beyond measure. Take one phrase, one inner name, and let it echo in your heart as you fall asleep. Whisper it softly, feel it as truth, and let your deeper mind accept it. That is real prayer. That is true calling of the angel. For the angel of money is not called by outer rituals, charms, or offerings, but by the inner words spoken in the silence of your soul. So tonight, when you lie on your bed, let your last thought before sleep be words of wealth. Let your final thought be simply, I am. And let that I am be dressed with abundance. As surely as morning comes, the angel of money will rise to meet you, bringing proof of the name you dared to speak. This turns the world upside down, for religion has long taught you to beg, to plead, and to cry. But the true law of God was never about begging. It has always been about declaring and commanding. Think back to the prayers you were taught as a child, how they were filled with desperation and fear. You hoped that maybe if you were good enough or cried hard enough, a distant God might hear you and drop crumbs from heaven. But I tell you now, such prayers are wasted breath. They begin in the wrong place with the belief that you are far from God, that you must reach up to heaven, yet heaven is already within you. When you pray as a beggar, you see yourself outside the kingdom hoping for mercy. But you are not a beggar at the gate of God's house. You are the child within the house, and everything inside already belongs to you. And if you are a child, then speak as one who inherits, not as one who pleads. That is why the scriptures say Jesus spoke with authority, not like the scribes. He never begged, he commanded. He said, "Peace, be still," and the sea became calm. He said, "Rise, take up your bed and walk," and the lame walked. He said, "Lazarus, come forth," and the dead obeyed. Why? Because he knew the Father and himself were one. He knew the power was not outside, but within. The difference between begging and commanding is not about volume, pride, or tone. It is about consciousness. When you beg, you say that you do not have, that what you desire is far away. When you command, you affirm that you already have, that the thing you want is here and now. To beg is to deny the law. To command is to fulfill it. The beggar says, "Please give me." The commander says, "I am." And life always answers to "I am." I once spoke with a woman who had prayed for years for financial relief. She told me she had fasted, lit candles, read psalms through the night, yet nothing changed. I asked, "When you prayed, did you feel heard?" She said, "No, I only felt fear and hoped maybe God would notice me." I said, "That is why nothing changed. You prayed as a beggar. Tonight, change your prayer. Don't ask for money. Declare that you already have it. Before you sleep, whisper, 'I am abundant. I am free. I am rich in every way,' and feel that it's true. Say it as one with the Father." She followed this, and within weeks, money began to appear. Debts were cleared, and her life shifted. What changed was not the world, not God, but her position of speaking. She moved from begging to commanding, from hoping to knowing, from wishing to believing. And I tell you, if you keep praying as the world prays, you will keep seeing the world's results. You will cry for years and remain unchanged. But if you dare to pray as Jesus prayed, as a child, as an heir, as one with the Father, you will see what others call miracles. Miracles are nothing more than the natural results of commanding with faith. The law is not moved by long speeches or desperate cries. It responds only to faith filled with feeling. To beg assumes lack. To command assumes plenty. Which angel will you call tonight? Do not misunderstand this truth. To command does not mean to shout or to demand in anger. It means to quietly enter the feeling of already having what you desire and then declare it as true. It is calm, it is certain, and it is peaceful. You say within yourself, "I am rich," and then you rest. You whisper, "I am supplied," and then allow sleep to carry it deep within. That is commanding. The outer world may argue, the senses may doubt, bills may still lie on the table, but if within you stand firmly in the power of "I am," then the angel of money must obey. That is divine law. So tonight, look within yourself. Are you still begging and pleading with a far-off power? Are you still crying as though God cannot hear? Or are you ready to take your true place as a child of the Father and to speak as one who inherits all that the Father has? The choice is yours, for your outer world will always reflect the position you take within. Speak as a beggar, and you will meet lack. Speak as an heir, and you will meet abundance. The angel of money is waiting for your word. What will you say? Let me share a story, a simple experiment that has awakened faith in countless men and women. A story so simple it sounds almost foolish, yet those who tested it found their whole world changed. I call it the ladder technique. I once told my students, for the next 3 nights before falling asleep, imagine yourself climbing a ladder. Feel the weight of your body rising as you climb. Make it so real that you can almost feel the texture of the wood beneath your hands, the pressure in your legs as you pull yourself up. When the picture is clear, whisper softly, "I am climbing a ladder, I am climbing a ladder." Do this each night, then go to sleep. but during the day repeat to yourself, I will not climb a ladder. See the trick? By day they denied it, but by night they accepted it. And within a week, every single one found themselves in a real situation where they had to climb a ladder, at work, at home, or in the most unexpected places. The image planted in silence overpowered the denial of the waking mind. Does not react to the noise of your waking thoughts, but to the feeling that is deeply impressed upon it. Act in the borderland between wakefulness and sleep. Those students could deny it 100 times during the day, yet what they imagined at night came to pass. And if something as small and simple as climbing a ladder can become real through imagination alone, how much more can the angel of money respond when you dare to feel that wealth already belongs to you? The ladder was nothing more than a sign, a symbol, a playful test of a greater law. But money, freedom, abundance, these are the true fruits of the same principle when used with intention. I remember one man who came to me unsure of what I taught. He said, Neville, I can't believe that imagination really creates reality. It sounds too strange. So I gave him the ladder exercise. He laughed but decided to give it a try. For 3 nights he imagined himself climbing a ladder. And on the 4th day, while visiting a friend's home, that friend asked him to fetch something from the attic. There stood a ladder waiting. He began to climb it without thinking, and halfway up, it hit him suddenly. His imagination had placed him there. From that day, he never doubted again. Soon he began using this law for his finances, his work, and his relationships, and each of them began to change one by one. So I ask you now, why not test this law in your own life tonight? Why not begin with a small act, not for the sake of the act itself, but to prove to yourself that imagination truly works? Picture yourself receiving a letter filled with good news. Picture a friend congratulating you. Picture yourself holding money in your hands. Do it quietly before sleep, not forcing or straining, but gently until it feels real, then release it. The world may mock you, your senses may deny it, and reason may laugh. But if you persist, the seed will grow and the harvest will appear. The ladder is just a picture of every desire. You climb into the state through imagination first, and then life arranges the outer steps that bring you into the physical fact. Do not worry about how it will happen. Do not try to plan the way. Simply climb within your imagination step by step, feeling it as real until you find yourself living what you once only dreamed of. Just as those students found themselves literally on ladders, you too will find yourself surrounded by wealth, provision, and freedom if you dare to assume it as true tonight. So take this as your sign. The law works. The subconscious answers. Imagination shapes reality, and if a ladder can show up, so too can money. The angel of money is no different from the ladder. Both are states waiting for you to step into them. Climb into the feeling of wealth, and life will set the steps before you. Now that you have seen how even a small, seemingly meaningless act like climbing a ladder can change your outer world in ways that reason cannot explain, I must tell you about the discipline needed to keep your inner world fertile. Without this inner discipline, you might plant the seeds of wealth at night only to pull them up by day through careless thinking and negative speech. This discipline is what I call the mental diet. It is what separates those who prove the law once and then fall back into old patterns of lack from those who live continually in the flow of abundance. A diet, as you know, controls what enters the body. In the same way, a mental diet controls what enters the mind. One man I knew prayed for prosperity at night, but spent his days feeding his mind with fear, debt, jealousy, and the bad news of financial trouble. He kept the idea of poverty alive by constantly feeding it, and then wondered why the results were bitter. You cannot plant figs and expect thorns, nor can you call on the angel of money at night while spending your days rehearsing words of lack. That is like planting a seed in the evening and digging it up every morning to check its progress. The harvest fails not because the law is weak, but because the man is divided in his belief. So I tell you, begin right now to guard your inner talk, for it is your never-ending prayer. Pay attention to what you say to yourself when no one else is around. Are you telling stories of failure, disappointment, or delay? Those stories, too, are angels, and they will bring results of their own kind. If you dislike the world you see, change the conversation you hold within. Replace every thought of lack with a vision of plenty. When your mind says, I can't afford it, gently but firmly say, I am provided for. When your heart fears, what if I lose everything? Respond with, I am safe in abundance. It is not one stray thought that ruins you, but the constant mood, the ongoing inner talk, the steady mental diet. If your inner diet is made of wealth and plenty, then the angel of money must obey, for it only mirrors your inner feeling. This is not about repressing yourself or using sheer willpower to silence your thoughts. It is about gentle persuasion, a quiet turning of your focus from one direction to another. If you catch yourself sinking into fear, don't scold yourself. Don't lose hope. Simply turn your mind again. Choose once more. Whisper inwardly, I am rich, I am free, I am blessed. Feel the calm that comes with these words. Let that feeling color your mood and paint your world. At first, this might feel unnatural, as if you're trying to train a wild horse. But in time, your mind will adapt to the new pasture and will naturally graze there. Soon, your days will carry a lightness that you can't explain, and your outer world will begin to reflect the inner wealth you have been feeding upon. Now, you can understand why Paul wrote, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." He knew that the mind is the workshop where angels take form, where states are chosen, and where the future is built. He knew that if you refuse to conform to the outer world, you must stay true to the diet of truth within. And what is that truth? That you already are what you desire, that money is not your ruler but your servant, that wealth is a state already existing, waiting only for you to dwell in it. Feed upon this daily, hourly, moment by moment, and the feast will appear in your life. So, tonight, as you call upon the angel of money before you sleep, remember to watch your inner meals tomorrow. Refuse to eat the stale bread of fear. Refuse to drink the bitter drink of envy. Feed instead upon the bread of wealth, the wine of abundance, and the living thought of, I am rich. Just as the body becomes healthy on good food, your life becomes full on a diet of abundant thinking. Now I must tell you this, living by appearances undoes your own work. Living by imagination proves the law. Think about the story of the doctor I told in The Law and the Promise. He dreamed of owning an apartment building that would bring him both income and peace. Outwardly it was impossible. He had no savings, no help, and no clear way to begin. Yet instead of giving in to what he saw, he chose to live in imagination. He saw himself walking the halls of that building, collecting rent, managing the place. He felt the view from its windows. He felt proud to own it. To the world, he looked like a man without means, but in imagination, he was already the landlord. Then, through a chain of events he could never have arranged on his own, what I call the bridge of incidents, the exact building he had seen inside himself became his. He stepped into the life he had already lived within. If he had judged by appearances, he would have said it was impossible and would have stayed a renter all his days. But he judged by imagination, and so the unseen state became seen. The outer world is slow to change, but it must follow the inner world as surely as night follows day. If you let appearances control your faith, you will always waver. Today they may show you lack, tomorrow plenty, and you will swing back and forth like a branch in the wind. But if you root yourself in imagination, if you say, even though my hands are empty, I am rich, then soon the world will bend to your inner truth. This is why Paul said, we look not at what is seen, but at what is unseen. For the seen is temporary, but the unseen is eternal. The unseen is imagination, and it is the everlasting seed of every fact. So I ask you, when you wake tomorrow and see the same world that doubted you yesterday, will you fall back into despair and say, nothing has changed? Or will you smile inwardly and say, the seed is planted, the harvest is certain? A farmer does not dig up his field every morning to check if the seed has sprouted. He trusts the unseen work happening beneath the soil. You too must trust the unseen work of imagination. Ignore the three-dimensional facts, not by denying them, but by reinterpreting them. See them as temporary, as fading pictures of the past, and keep your focus on your new inner vision. For the angel of money has already been called. Even if your senses do not yet show its arrival, it is on the way, compelled by the law to fulfill your assumption. And if the outer world laughs at you, let it laugh. If people call you foolish, let them talk. Because when your harvest comes, when the money appears, when the life you imagined becomes your daily reality, those same people will ask how you did it. And you will know it wasn't the outer world that made you rich. It was imagination. Ignore what your eyes see, my friend, for it is only the echo of your past beliefs. Live now in the state of wealth, and soon even the echoes will change their song. In your mind, to live as though the wish has already come true, and then life itself, the power within you that shapes itself into form, will build the bridge that carries you from where you stand now to where you have already decided to be. And when that bridge begins to appear, you will walk across it easily, without stress, without knowing how it was made, and without trying to control a single step. I remember the story of a doctor who imagined owning an apartment building. When he took ownership in his imagination, he had no idea how it could ever happen. On the surface, he had no money, no experience, and no visible support. Anyone looking at him would have said it was impossible and laughed at his dream. Yet he kept holding that image in his mind. Slowly, events started moving. A property became available. The right people came into his path. Legal matters aligned, and even financial help appeared. One event after another formed a perfect chain. He could not have planned it. He could not have forced it. He would never have guessed the order of events. But the law of imagination knows the fastest, surest route. Once the end was fixed in his imagination, the bridge started forming by itself. He walked that bridge one step at a time. Every action seemed natural, even ordinary. Yet when he looked back later, he could see how perfectly everything had been arranged. That is the mystery of the bridge. It feels normal while you are on it, but when you look back, it feels miraculous. You might think you are just answering a phone call, meeting someone new, or replying to a message, but in truth you are walking across the bridge that your imagination built. Reason will say it was luck or coincidence, but deep down you will know it was the angel you called in silence now showing up as real events. That is why I tell you, never worry about how things will happen. The how belongs to God, to the deeper power within you. Your part is only to set the end, to claim it, to feel it real, and to rest in that feeling. The bridge will carry you, and it will never fail. But here is where many people fall. They start to doubt. They grow impatient. They demand to see results before believing. And when they do, they dig up the seed they planted. The bridge is invisible until you are already walking on it. If you insist on seeing the entire bridge before taking your first step, you will stay where you are. Faith means stepping into what cannot yet be seen. Walk in faith, and the bridge will unfold under your feet. I remember a time when I had no money and no idea how I would travel. I could see no possible way. Still, I imagined myself already where I wanted to be. I held that feeling as real. Then, without planning it, letters arrived, friends helped, and situations changed. Step by step, I was brought to exactly where I had imagined. Each step looked ordinary at the time, but later I could see how everything had been guided. And so it will be for you. If tonight you dare to call upon the angel of money, you may not see how the supply will appear, but it will. The bridge will form, and when it does, you will walk it naturally, and soon you will stand on the other side, amazed that you ever doubted. So I tell you again, trust the bridge. Do not try to see it all at once. Rest in the end result. Walk in faith and let the unseen power arrange every detail. The angel of money is faithful. Once you call it, it will not abandon you. It will build every step, every connection, every opportunity until you stand in the reality you have already claimed. Now I must tell you about the great enemy of faith, the silent thief that steals your harvest. It is the soft whisper that convinces people to destroy their own progress. That enemy is doubt. Poverty itself does not ruin a person, because poverty can end the moment one assumes wealth. Circumstances are not chains, because circumstances bend easily before the strength of imagination. It is doubt that holds a person captive. Doubt is the refusal to believe imagination is reality. It demands proof before belief. It says, "Show me first, then I will believe." But that is backward. The proof appears only after belief. The law is clear. Believe first, and the outer world must change. Doubt first, and it stays the same. I have seen many who began full of joy. They dared to imagine. They felt the thrill of calling the angel of money, and their hearts were full of faith. But when morning came and the bills still sat on the table, when the account still showed the same number, doubt crept in. They said to themselves, "Maybe I imagined it wrong. Maybe this is silly. Maybe it doesn't work." And when doubt speaks that way, you must answer it. When doubt says, "It's not possible," you say, "It is done." When doubt laughs, "Where is the money?" you quietly answer, "I already have it." Do not argue or fight with doubt. Simply turn away, as you would turn away from a shadow, and walk again in the light of your belief. Doubt is nothing more than the echo of your old self calling you back into the comfort of lack. Ignore it. Do not feed it. Keep choosing faith again and again until faith is the only voice left. There was once a woman named Linda who told me her story. She had seen the law work before. Small gifts, small blessings, even bits of unexpected money had come to her easily. But one day she faced a greater need. This time she lost her calm. She imagined wealth at night, but doubted by day, checking her account, watching the mail, worrying endlessly. Then, during quiet meditation, she heard within her the words, "Stop testing me with your eyes." In that moment, she understood that her need for visible proof was blocking the flow. So she made a decision. She would no longer look outward for signs. She would rest fully in inner knowing. From that day, she refused to check, refused to measure, refused to fear. She simply assumed and rested. Within weeks, her need was met in a way that astonished her. The only thing that had stopped her was doubt, and once it was gone, the law moved freely again. So remember, doubt cannot be beaten by fighting it. You defeat it by starving it. Stop giving it your attention. Feed faith instead. Speak words of confidence within yourself. Water your belief with gratitude. Wrap it in feeling. Then doubt will fade like a weed without soil. Each time you choose faith over fear, you strengthen your new state. Soon faith becomes natural, easy, and strong, and doubt has no place left to live. That is when you finally walk by faith and not by sight. So tonight, when you call the angel of money, do not expect your senses to confirm it by morning. Rest in the quiet conviction that it is already yours. When the voice of doubt rises, smile and let it pass. It is only the ghost of your former self. Speak gently within, I am wealthy now. Let that be your only response. Doubt may come like a storm, but faith, once firm, stands like a mountain that no wind can move. Now let me show you something wonderful, something that reason cannot understand. It is this: money can appear without money. Wealth does not come only by saving, by trading, or by hard work. It comes because imagination has taken shape as fact. When you dare to assume the feeling of being rich, the world reshapes itself. People, places, and opportunities shift to match your inner state. Gifts, promotions, inheritances, unexpected openings, all can come from directions you never thought of. In that moment, you may have nothing visible, yet imagination already holds everything. This is the law that people call impossible, and yet it is the same law by which everything in creation appears. Was not the universe itself called forth from nothing? And if heaven and earth could come into being from a simple command, "Let there be," then why should your abundance take years of effort? Why not trust that the same creative power lives in you? I once told the story of a doctor who wanted to own an apartment building. Outwardly, he had nothing, no capital, no backers, no experience, but he dared to believe that he already owned it. Each night he walked through its halls in imagination. He collected rent in imagination. He felt the joy of being the owner. He didn't save for years. He didn't beg the bank. He didn't wait for luck. Then, as if by magic, but truly by law, a bridge of events appeared. Someone offered him terms that required no initial money. Legal doors opened. Support arrived. The impossible became real. He owned that building, not because he had money, but because he had assumed ownership in his imagination. The money appeared after the state was assumed. That is why I tell you, never say, "I can't afford it." The moment you say that, you make money your master. You bow to appearances and deny the creative power within you. You put yourself in bondage to numbers on a screen. But the truth is this: all that you desire is already yours in imagination. The angel of money waits for your word. When you assume wealth, money must appear. It might come as a gift, as an inheritance, as a job offer, as an unexpected opportunity, or even as a door opening where there was none before. Never ask how. The how is not your business. Your business is only to live in the end. Feel it real. Rest in it. Trust the law, and it will fulfill itself perfectly. So tonight, hold the end in mind. Feel the joy of already having what you asked for. Speak only from that state. The bridge will build itself beneath your feet, and you will cross it naturally. You will look back one day and say, "It all worked out exactly as I imagined." That is the power of faith. That is the work of the angel of creation. It accepts whatever feeling or idea you plant in it, and once planted, it begins to grow and bring that feeling into form. Does the seed of a tree ever worry about how its branches will grow, or how its roots will spread, or when the rain will fall? No, it simply grows, for the law of life compels it to do so. The same is true with your assumption. When you assume wealth and hold to it faithfully, the law of life must bring it to pass. The result may come as money or as an opportunity or through help from another person, but behind every visible thing stands one power, imagination expressing itself as fact. That is why I tell you, money appears without money. It appears because you assumed it to be so, and once that assumption is accepted within, the whole world bends itself to deliver it to you. So the next time you are tempted to fall into despair because you see no visible way, remember this: visible means are only shadows, not the source. The real source is imagination. When you live from the state of wealth, you have already reached the goal. The world must then rearrange itself to supply the form. And when it does, you will not be shocked, for it will feel so natural that you will wonder why you ever doubted. For money appears without money, not as a trick, not as luck, but as the natural flow of the law that imagination creates reality. Let me share with you one of the clearest examples of this law in my own life. I do not speak to you of theory, nor do I rely on the experience of others without first testing it myself. I tell you now the story of my journey from Los Angeles to Barbados. It has been told many times, not because it is mine, but because it stands as a living witness that imagination truly creates reality and that money must appear even when there seems to be none. At that time I was in New York, but my heart longed to spend the winter with my family in the warmth of the Caribbean. Yet my pockets were empty. I had not a nickel for the passage, and reason mocked me, saying, "It's impossible. How can a man with no money cross the ocean? How can a penniless dreamer find himself on an island thousands of miles away?" But deep within the silence of my mind, I knew the truth. Imagination is the only reality. If I could only assume that I was already in Barbados, then the way would appear. So night after night, I lay on my bed and refused to see the walls of my New York room. Instead, I filled my mind with the picture of my father's house. I walked through its rooms. I could smell the sea air. I could hear the voices of my family gathered together. I could feel the warmth of the Caribbean sun on my skin. I didn't think of Barbados as something far away. I thought from Barbados as if I were already there. And as I drifted into sleep, I let that feeling take over completely. I didn't worry about how it would happen. I didn't beg or plead. I simply assumed the end and rested in that feeling. Then, as always, the bridge of events began to form, though at first I didn't recognize it. One day, a letter arrived from my brother. In it, he wrote how much he longed for the family to be together for Christmas, and enclosed was a steamship ticket for my passage. In that moment, the world reflected what I had already accepted within. To anyone else, it looked like a miracle. A man with no money suddenly given a ticket across the sea. But to me, it was law in action. It was imagination made visible. The angel of money taking the form of a ticket carrying me from New York to Barbados. So I tell you, never dismiss your desire as impossible just because the outer facts mock you. Do not count your coins and say, "I can't." The truth is you can, not because of what's in your hands, but because of the state you hold in imagination. If I, without a penny, could imagine my way into a ticket across the sea, how much more can you imagine your way into the money you need, the wealth you desire, the freedom you long for? The law is no respecter of persons. What worked for me will work for you, if only you persist. Remember this story whenever doubt creeps in. Picture me lying in my New York bed with nothing in my pocket, everything against me, yet choosing to dwell in the house of my father in Barbados. Within weeks, the world had no choice but to mirror the inner act. Let this strengthen your faith, for the angel of money responds not to labor, not to chance, but to assumption. Live in the end, feel it real, and the world will conspire to bring it to you. Now let me bring you back to the simplicity of the ladder, for in its simplicity lies great power. Many stumble over it because it seems too childish, yet those who dare to try it discover the very secret of creation. I once gave this challenge to my students. Some laughed, some mocked, and some said, "What good is a ladder when I need money, healing, or freedom?" But those who were humble enough to test it proved that imagination never fails. I told them, night after night as you lie in bed, picture yourself climbing a ladder. Feel the rough wood under your hands. Feel your arms stretch as you lift yourself rung by rung. Feel your feet find their place. Feel the upward motion as if it were real. And as you drift into sleep, softly repeat, "I am climbing a ladder, I am climbing a ladder." But here was the twist. During the day, they were to say the opposite. "I will not climb a ladder. I refuse to climb a ladder." Deny it by day, affirm it by night, and watch what happens. Within a week, every one of them found themselves on a ladder. Why is this so powerful? Because it proves that outer denial, the voice of reason, and doubt in the day cannot undo the seed planted in imagination. If the seed is planted with feeling, the subconscious holds to it as fact. Even while the student said by day, "I will not," the subconscious answered, "You already have." And since the subconscious never fails, the event took shape. One student told me he was called to fix something on his roof and suddenly found himself halfway up a ladder before he remembered the experiment. Another said that though he never climbed anything at work, his employer suddenly asked him to fetch something from a top shelf, and there stood a ladder waiting. Each one realized in that moment that imagination had dressed itself in fact. Now, if imagination can bring something as small as a ladder, surely it can bring money, health, or freedom. The ladder was chosen because it is neutral. No one resists it. No one says, "I can't afford a ladder," or "I don't deserve one," or "ladders are too rare." So the subconscious accepted it easily and produced it quickly. But when it comes to money, people fill the soil of their mind with weeds of doubt and fear. They say, money is hard to earn, money is scarce, money belongs to others. So the seed struggles, not because the law changed, but because their thoughts choke it. If you will treat money as simply as the ladder, if you will assume it naturally without resistance, it will appear just as surely. The ladder story is not really about ladders, it's about faith. It's about proving to yourself that imagination creates reality. What you feel and assume in the silence of the night will rise to meet you in the light of day. Once you prove this in small things, you will have the courage to use it for greater things. For if a ladder can appear without effort, why not a new job, a home, $10,000, or freedom from debt? It is the same law, the same imagination, the same divine power within you saying, "I am." So take this lesson to heart. Begin with small things if you must, until your faith is strong. But do not stay with the trivial. Move on to the mighty. For the angel of money waits for your command, just as the ladder waited for theirs. When you see imagination prove itself, in both the little and the great, you will no longer bow to appearances or doubt the word of God within you. You will know truly that imagination creates reality, and you will live as an heir, not as a beggar. Now let us come to the present moment. I know many of you may say, "Yes, Neville, it worked for you and for your students with the ladder, but what about me? What about now in a world full of bills and pressure?" So I tell you this, countless testimonies continue to come in from men and women who dared to apply this law. Ordinary people, not mystics or saints, but people like you and me, who in the silence of their nights dared to assume and saw the world bend to their assumption. One man wrote to me saying he was drowning in debt. Constant fear. He had once heard about the ladder experiment and thought to himself, "If I can imagine a ladder, why not imagine my debts paid off?" So night after night, instead of picturing the terror of unpaid bills, he imagined himself opening a letter marked "paid in full," He could see it clearly, feel the texture of the paper, and read the words over and over until tears of relief filled his eyes. Soon, without him knowing how, the debt was gone. A business deal went through, unexpected money came in, and one by one the creditors sent him letters of release. When he wrote to me, he said, "Neville, the most amazing thing isn't the money itself, but the peace I feel. Now I truly know imagination is real. I've proven it, and no one can ever take that knowing away from me." Another woman told me she lived paycheck to paycheck, always afraid of the month's end. She had prayed for years, begged God for help, but nothing ever shifted. Then she heard me say, "Stop begging and start commanding. Feel yourself to be rich now." At first she resisted, thinking it was proud and false. But finally, in her desperation, she tried. Each night she imagined herself shopping easily, paying bills with joy, even giving gifts to others. She felt the freedom and happiness of it until that feeling became more real than her worries. Within a few months, her company suddenly promoted her, doubling her income, and doors she had never noticed began to open. She said, "It's as if life itself understood my needs and met them the moment I dared to feel differently." And I cannot forget the stories from those who tested this law with the smallest sums just to see if it worked. A young man decided to imagine receiving $20. He didn't know from where. He didn't plan or scheme. He simply imagined himself holding the money folded warm in his hand. Within days, a friend he had forgotten about repaid an old loan, exactly $20. The young man laughed in delight, not because of the amount, but because imagination had proved itself true. From that moment, he went on to bigger things, certain that the same law would never fail him. And what about you? Can you not see that these stories are not exceptions, but living examples of a universal and unchanging law? Just as gravity works for all, so does the law of assumption. The angel of money responds wherever it is called, for it is only the state of wealth clothed in visible form. It waits not for the worthy, the educated, or the lucky. It waits only for the one who dares to assume. The very instant you feel yourself wealthy, when you dwell in the joy of already having, that moment the law begins to move and the bridge of events starts forming beneath your feet. Let these stories strengthen your faith. Let them silence that voice which whispers, "It's too late," or "It's too hard," or "It works for others, not for me." Those people were no different from you, except in one thing. They dared to test the law, and now they know, as you will, come to know that imagination truly creates reality, that money responds to the name you call it by, that the angel of money lives within you, awaiting your command. Now we reach the stumbling stone that has caused more people to fall than any other, the stone over which reason always trips. It is this: facts lie. I know that sounds strange, because since childhood you've been taught to trust facts, to measure life by what you can count, weigh, or see with your eyes. But I tell you, if you build your trust on facts, you are building your house upon sand. Facts are not the truth. Facts are simply the delayed results of yesterday's imagination, the fading shadows of a state once felt as real. They are the harvest of old thoughts, not the seed of what is to come. To judge by facts is to mistake the shadow for the substance, the echo for the voice, the reflection for the light. If you want to live by truth, you must see facts as they are, temporary, changing, and powerless to hold the one who dares to assume anew. Think of it like this: today the fact may be that you are poor, in debt, and behind in every way. But is that the truth? No, it is only the outer picture of what you once believed about yourself. Change that belief. Assume wealth tonight, even if tomorrow's facts still speak of lack. Soon they must yield, for they cannot resist a new seed. The truth is what you dare to feel in imagination, while the facts are only fading images of what you once felt. Scripture says clearly, we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are unseen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are unseen are eternal. The unseen is imagination. It alone is eternal, for it is the source of everything that appears. The seen world is fleeting, changing the very moment you assume differently. I remember countless letters sent to me from those who first mocked this truth. One man wrote, "Neville, the fact is I have nothing. I'm unemployed. My rent is due and I can't pay." I replied, "Yes, those are facts, but they are not the truth. The truth is what you dare to assume. The truth is, I am. What will you clothe that I am with tonight?" He accepted the challenge. Though the facts screamed poverty, he dared to feel employed, to imagine walking into an office, hearing "well done," and shaking hands in gratitude. Within weeks, the facts changed. A job opened, he was hired, and the same facts that once mocked him now testified to his faith. The facts had lied, pretending to be final when they were only shadows waiting to dissolve. Do not let the world intimidate you with its reports, statistics, or experts. They will say money is scarce, times are hard, opportunities are few, and your background or age are barriers against you, but I tell you, they lie. The law shows no favoritism. The world itself is imagination made visible, and it must bend to the one who imagines boldly. If you believe the facts, you'll remain their prisoner. But if you believe the truth and that imagination shapes reality, then you will make the facts bow before you. Every great invention, every discovery, every fortune ever created began with someone who refused to accept the facts and instead held fast to vision. So tonight, when the facts mock you, when they whisper, "Look at your bills, look at your empty accounts," smile and answer, "These are only yesterday's shadows. I have assumed something new, and tomorrow will tell another story." Rest in that knowing, and soon you'll watch the facts change before your very eyes. When they do, you'll laugh at how seriously you once feared them. You'll understand that facts deceive, imagination is truth, and the angel of money responds not to numbers on a page, but to the feeling you occupy within yourself. Now we rise to a higher understanding in this great revelation. I must show you the difference between the law and the promise. For if you do not grasp it, you may spend your whole life calling on the angel of money and still miss the greater gift for which the law itself exists. By the law you can indeed summon money. By the law you can heal sickness, restore relationships, build careers and reputations. The law is impartial. It serves whoever applies it, whether for good or for ill. But above the law stands the promise. And the promise is not something you earn or achieve. It is something revealed. It is the unveiling of God within you, the realization that you and the Father are one, that the same power which calls forth angels is the living Christ awakening in you. When I first learned the law from my teacher Abdullah, I was amazed by its strength. I proved it with money, with travel, with opportunity. I saw the world outside rearrange itself again and again according to the command of my imagination. I thought surely this was the highest point, the final secret. But then came the visions, the revelations in the stillness of night when heaven opened within me. The drama of Scripture unfolded in my very being, and I discovered through direct experience that the Christ of whom the Bible speaks is none other than my own imagination. That is the promise. The law brings you the reflection of wealth, but the promise reveals the true riches of God Himself. The law gives you things, but the promise reveals that you are the source of all things. The law provides for the journey, but the promise awakens you to know that you are the dreamer who imagined the journey to begin with. Do not mistake me. The law is good. It is the faithful servant through which you prove to yourself that imagination is real and trustworthy. It brings food to the hungry, money to the poor, healing to the sick. Use it well, but never confuse the servant for the master. Never mistake the means for the end, for the end is not money, not health, not possessions. The end is awakening. It is the revelation that the I am within you is God Himself, the only creative power that ever was or will be. First the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. The kingdom is the promise, and the things are the law. Use the law, but seek the promise. I tell you this because it is very easy to become lost in the excitement of results. You prove the law once, twice, many times, and soon you begin to call upon angels for every small thing, as if life were only a market of endless manifestations. But if you stop there, you have missed the true treasure, for the real pearl of great price is the knowledge of who you are. It is the realization that imagination is not just creative power, but the very identity of the divine within you. The law is only the shadow. The promise is the real substance. The law is the path, but the promise is the destination. The law is the servant, while the promise is the master. So use the law with faith. Call upon the angel of money. Prove to yourself that imagination truly creates your reality. Live free from fear and lack. But as you do this, keep your heart open to something greater. For one day, when you least expect it, the promise will break open within you, and you will witness the story of Christ unfolding inside your very soul. Then you will understand that all the wealth, all the success, all the manifestations you ever enjoyed were only signs pointing to the real treasure, God awakening within you as your own being. Now that you can see the difference between the law and the promise, let me take you even deeper and show you that money itself, though much desired, is only the first fruit, a small sign that the law is working, a token of something far greater that waits to be revealed. For when a tree begins to blossom, when its first fruit appears on the branches, no wise farmer mistakes that small beginning for the full harvest. He rejoices because that fruit is proof that the seed has taken root, that the soil is good, and that the season is right. But he does not pick that one fruit and think his work is finished. He knows more fruit will come, so he rests in patience, certain that the tree will bear abundantly. In the same way, when you call upon the angel of money and the answer comes, when the bills are paid, when your wallet is full, when the unexpected check arrives, rejoice, for this is your first fruit. It is proof that imagination is faithful and that the law responds without fail. But do not stop there, for more awaits you. Not only more money, but deeper understanding, greater awakening, more of God living in you. Money as a first fruit teaches you that the law truly works. For many years you might have prayed and seen no result, begged and heard only silence, and wondered if God heard you at all. But the moment you apply the law and see money appear where there was none before, the moment you taste that first fruit, something changes inside you. You finally know that the Father is within you, that your imagination is not idle fantasy, but the very voice of God. That knowing is priceless, for it changes the whole direction of your life. You no longer look outward to people, systems, or luck. You turn inward, understanding that the source of every good thing lives within you. That first fruit gives you courage to keep planting, to keep trusting, to rest in faith. Yet I must warn you, many people, after tasting the first fruit, cling to it as if it were the whole harvest. They make money their final goal, their obsession, their God, forgetting that it was never the end, but only a signpost along the way. They chase one manifestation after another, measuring their spiritual worth by the size of their income, and in doing so they miss the deeper call. Do not be deceived. Money is good, useful, and necessary, but it is not the ultimate treasure. It is only the first fruit, not the harvest. It is a shadow, not the reality itself. Use it as proof, but keep your eyes on the greater promise. I remember a man who once used the law faithfully and prospered. He rose from poverty to abundance, from obscurity to success. And he wrote to me saying, I have all the money I could ever need, yet something inside me still feels empty. And I told him, of course, the first fruit has ripened, but the true harvest is God Himself. Do not stop at money. Continue using the law, yes, but seek the promise. For until you awaken to the Christ within, you will always feel a hunger that nothing in this world can fill. He took my words deeply to heart. Years later, he wrote again, not about money this time, but about visions, dreams, and the birth of the inner child, about the tearing of the veil within and the awakening of God in his own being. And he said, now I know why money alone could never satisfy me. It was only a sign leading me to this. So take the money when it comes. Be glad for it. Use it wisely. Be thankful for it. But do not mistake it for the goal. Let it be your proof that the law works, your encouragement to move forward toward the greater promise. For one day you will see that while the angel of money is faithful, it is just one among countless angels. And beyond them all stands the Lord Himself, your own I Am, waiting to reveal Himself through you. And when that day comes, you will understand that money was only the shadow and God the true substance. Now let us lift the veil a little higher. Having spoken of money as the first fruit, let me show you what lies beyond the fruit, beyond the sign, beyond the servant. It is the revelation of the true angel. For if money is only a shadow, and if the law is only a servant, then who is the master? Who is the angel behind every angel? Who listens when you call in the quiet of the night and answers you in the form of money, health, opportunity, or peace? The real angel is none other than your own I Am, the Christ within, the divine imagination that is God Himself. Every other angel, whether of wealth, health, or protection, is simply a garment worn by this one eternal being. When you awaken to this truth, you stop running after angels and begin to honor the Lord of all angels, your own awareness of being. Scripture declares, I am the Lord your God, and besides me there is no Savior. It does not say that money will save you or that health or others will save you, but I am is your Savior. That is the true angel. For when you whisper within yourself, I am, and clothe that feeling with wealth, then money appears. When you whisper, I am, and clothe it with strength, then health appears. When you whisper, I am, and wrap it in harmony, then love and peace return. In every case, the outer shape changes, but the inner power is always the same. It is always that one I am taking on the form you assign to it. So if tonight you call upon the angel of money, you are truly calling upon the Lord Himself, saying, I am wealthy, I am provided for, and he who cannot deny himself must prove himself faithful. I remember the moment this truth struck me like lightning. For years I had taught the law. I had seen countless examples of its power. I rejoiced in hearing stories of people who applied it and prospered. But one night, in a vision, I saw that behind every single manifestation stood the same eternal presence, the same radiant light of awareness, and I knew beyond any doubt that all angels are but masks of the one being. I saw that the Christ in me is my imagination, and that this Christ is the only angel truly worth seeking. From that moment, I could no longer chase manifestations as if they were ends in themselves. I still received them, yes, but my heart was fixed on something higher, to know myself as the true angel, the living God, clothed in human form. And I tell you, this is your destiny too. You may begin by calling upon the angel of money, and that is good, for it proves the law to you. You may rejoice when debts disappear, when opportunities come, when abundance flows, but do not stop there. Ask yourself, who was it that answered me? Was it some power outside, or was it the Christ within? Was it the world responding, or was it my own divine imagination revealing itself? And when you realize that every answer, every blessing, every manifestation has always come from within your own being, then you will no longer seek the shadow, but the source. You will live knowing that God is not far away, but is your very self, the one who imagines, feels, and becomes all things. In time. For the truth is this: every answer you have ever received, every demonstration you have ever experienced, every miracle that has ever touched your life was the work of one true angel, your own divine imagination. And once you truly see this, you will no longer be dazzled by the gifts, because you will have found the giver himself. So let tonight be not only the night you call upon the angel of money, but also the night you glimpse the deeper truth that the angel you summon is none other than yourself, clothed in the garment of wealth. Let your prayer be not only I am wealthy, but also I am that I am. For when this truth takes hold of you, you will know the joy that money cannot buy, the freedom that no outer circumstance can provide, the peace that passes all understanding. Then you will walk the earth as a master, not a servant, as a son, not a beggar, as the true angel made flesh. Now we arrive at the highest point, the final step toward which all these teachings have been leading. I have spoken to you of the angel of money, of the law by which he is called, of the fruits that prove the law is faithful, and of the revelation that behind every angel stands the one true angel, your own I am. And now I must show you that the journey from gold to God is the only journey worth making. For money, though powerful in the world of Caesar, though able to buy bread, shelter, and clothing, and though it can ease the burdens of the day, is still only a shadow compared to the glory of God revealed in you. Money can fill your hand, but never your heart. It can silence the voice of the creditor, but it cannot quiet the longing within your soul. It can decorate your house with comfort, but it cannot lift the veil that hides eternity. But when God awakens in you, when you know beyond question that imagination is not only power but person, not only law but life, then the gold of this world loses its shine, and you find yourself rich with treasure that does not rust, that no thief can steal, that no event can reduce. The path from gold to God is not a denial of money. No, for money is a servant and a helpful one, but it is the understanding that money was never the end, only the sign, the shadow pointing to the source. Gold comes when you assume wealth, but God appears when you assume your true identity. And here lies the miracle. When God appears, gold is added freely. For all things are yours once you know yourself as I am. That is why the Scripture says, the silver is mine and the gold is mine. It is not that God stores riches in some distant heaven, but that the very consciousness you call I is the source of all wealth, both heavenly and earthly. When you awaken to this, money no longer troubles you. You can call it forth at will, yet you no longer crave it, for your heart has discovered the pearl of great price. I remember the words of Jesus, "Do not lay up treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up treasures in heaven. And where is this heaven? It is not in the clouds above, but within you. Heaven is the awakened state, in which you know your own divinity. That is the true treasure. When you find it, you are free, whether you hold a coin or not. For the riches of God are not measured in currency, but in revelation, not in possessions, but in presence, not in accumulation, but in awakening. Once awakened, you walk the earth knowing that you and the Father are one. And in that knowing, you become master of all angels, including the angel of money. So tonight, let your call for money also be your call for God. Let the wealth you assume in imagination become a doorway, a ladder rising toward divine revelation. Feel the joy of money in your hand, yes, but feel also the deeper joy of knowing that the one holding that money is God Himself, clothed as you. For when you see this truth, the journey is complete. You have moved from gold to God, from shadow to substance, from servant to Lord. And then whether you sit in a palace or a small room, you will know yourself to be rich beyond measure, for you will have found the treasure hidden in the field, the Christ within you, the true angel of all angels. Now, my friend, having walked with me through these words, having heard of the angel of money and how he is called, having seen how the law works faithfully in both small and great things, having listened to the stories of others and glimpsed the difference between the law and the promise, and having climbed with me from the shadow of gold into the radiant light of God Himself, I leave you with a charge, a remembrance, and a call. For everything I have spoken will remain only as sound unless you dare tonight to test it for yourself. I have not asked you to believe blindly, nor to worship me as a teacher, nor to bow before any outer power. I have asked you only to turn within, to find God in yourself, to call upon the angel of money in the quiet of the night, to assume the state of wealth already yours, to rest in that assumption as though it were real, and to rise tomorrow knowing that imagination never fails. Take this teaching not as a tale told, but as a seed planted. Do not let it fall by the wayside of doubt, nor let the birds of worry snatch it away, nor the thorns of fear choke it. Keep it in the soil of your heart, water it with persistence, warm it with feeling, and in due time you will see the harvest. Money in your hand, freedom in your affairs, peace in your mind. And when you do not stop at the fruit. Look beyond it to the source. See that every coin, every blessing, every miracle was but the shadow of the true angel. Your own, I am proving itself faithful. Let this revelation fill you until you know without argument that you and the Father are one. Tonight, as you lie down, whisper softly to yourself, not with strain or effort, but with calm assurance, I am wealthy, I am supplied, I am free. Say it as though it were natural, as though it had always been true. Feel the money in your hand. Feel the ease in your heart. Feel the quiet joy of freedom in your chest. Then let sleep carry that feeling deep into the womb of creation. Do not beg, do not plead, do not bargain, command, for you are heir, not beggar. And know that the angel of money has already answered, that the harvest is already forming, that the bridge of events is already building even as you sleep. Rise tomorrow not asking, will it work, but declaring it is done. Walk in the faith of that knowing, and soon the outer world will reflect it in fact. And when the money comes, when the supply appears, when the outer life bends to your inner decree, rejoice, yes, but remember this, the greater gift is not the gold in your hand, but the God in your heart. Remember that the true angel is your divine imagination. Let every demonstration bring you nearer to the promise until the day the veil is lifted and you know yourself to be the Christ of Scripture, the I am that creates all. Then you will no longer live as one chasing signs, for you will know you are the source of every sign, the dreamer of every dream, the Lord of every angel. So tonight, take this call to heart. Call the angel of money. Dare to feel your wish fulfilled. Dare to live in the end. Dare to ignore appearances. Walk by faith, persist until it solidifies into fact. For the power is within you, and it has never failed. It is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The I am in you is the master key, the eternal source, the angel of angels, and once you awaken to it, nothing will ever be impossible again.